Nuns hide a terrifying secret from the entire world. Behind the thick walls of medieval convents, where silence was supposed to be broken only by prayers, things happened that would make anyone of the time cross themselves 3 times. These women, supposedly dedicated to a life of chastity and devotion, kept secrets so heavy that they could make the walls of the convents collapse. Today, you will learn shocking facts about nuns that shocked the world. Are you curious? Join us and let's go. Number 16. The Cheating Twins. Twin sisters Lucia and Maria entered the convent of Santa Clara in Verona with a well-planned plan. They took turns in their religious duties. While one prayed, the other went out to enjoy life in the city. Since they were identical, no one could tell them apart. They used this advantage to lead a double life, saint by day, sinner by night. The trick worked for years until one of them got pregnant. There was total confusion when they tried to find out which of the two was expecting a baby. The scandal became even bigger when they discovered that they were both pregnant by the same man, a local businessman who thought he was having an affair with just one nun. Number 15. The Witches of the Convent. In Portugal, in the 17th century, Sister Joanna and her friends decided to spice up the convent routine with alternative practices. At a time when any woman who knew how to make herbal tea was considered a witch, just imagine the scandal when they discovered that the nuns were performing secret rituals. The Inquisition, those people who loved bonfires, began to investigate. Some nuns were tortured to confess that they had made a pact with the devil. In reality, many of them were just using natural medicine and saying some different prayers. But at that time, that was already reason enough to be called a witch. Number 14. The Nun Who Seduced Christ. The halls of an Italian convent were never the same after Benedetta Carlini first set foot in them. This young girl, just 9 years old, taken by her father to fulfill a promise made to God, grew up to become one of the most controversial figures in religious history. At 30, Benedetta was no longer that innocent girl. She now declared herself the official bride of Christ and claimed to receive intimate visits from him at night. The case became even more heated when she began to have divine visions involving an angel named Splenditello. According to reports at the time, this angel would often possess her body during secret meetings with another nun, Bartolomea. The two were often caught in compromising situations, and Benedetta justified everything by saying that they were divine manifestations. To give more credibility to her stories, she went so far as to inflict wounds on herself, claiming that they were the same as those of Christ. I have a question for you. First, I'd like to tell you that it's possible to keep up with the biggest curiosities of our world every day. But for that, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So have you subscribed yet? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Now that you've done that, let's go. Number 13. The Nun Who Cheated Death. Joan of Leeds went down in history as the most creative nun when it came to escaping from the convent. Tired of religious life in the 14th century, she came up with a plan worthy of an action movie. Instead of simply jumping over the walls, Joan decided to fake her own death. She created a doll her own size, filled it with sand, and convinced everyone that she had died. While the other nuns mourned her death and buried the doll in the convent cemetery, Joan escaped peacefully to the city of Beverly, 50 kilometers away. She almost managed to live her new life in freedom, but Archbishop William Melton discovered the deception and went berserk. He sent an angry letter to all the authorities in the region, saying that Joan had been tempted by carnal lust and needed to be found. But the best part? No one knows if they caught her or if Joan managed to live happily ever after with her new identity. Number 12. The Saint Who Never Was. Maria Agnese Ferrau had a talent for deception. At the convent of Sant'Ambrogio in Rome, she built an entire mythology around herself. She claimed to have special powers that came directly from God and claimed that her body bore the same wounds as Christ. The other nuns were so impressed that they began to worship her as a living saint. When the church discovered that it was all a big hoax, Mary was expelled from the convent, but her legacy of lies lived on through a secret group of followers who maintained her cult in secret, calling her Blessed Mary and following her forbidden teachings. Number 11. The Convent of Forbidden Feasts. The convent of St. Catherine in Pisa became the talk of the town when authorities discovered that the nuns were holding secret parties at night. These gatherings began as religious celebrations, but soon turned into full-fledged medieval revelries. The nuns would sneak men from town, serve wine stolen from the priest's cellar, and dance until dawn. The leader of this whole mess was Sister Isabella, who had a special talent for organizing these forbidden parties. She discovered a secret passage in the convent walls that led to a nearby tavern. The nuns used this passage to bring drinks and invite young people from the town to their sinful celebrations. When the local bishop finally found out, he even found a makeshift mini-bar behind the altar. Number 10. The Convent of Forbidden Letters. At the convent of San Domingo in Toledo, the nuns developed a secret system of correspondence with their lovers in the city. They used special codes in their letters, disguising racy messages as prayers. The convent's librarian, Sister Rosa, was the mastermind behind this forbidden communication network. The case exploded when one of the letters fell into the wrong hands. It was a message from Sister Elena to her lover, a local baker, arranging to meet in the chapel during midnight mass. The letter was full of double entendre biblical references that would make any priest blush. When religious authorities investigated, they found hundreds of these letters hidden inside prayer books. Number 9. The Perverted Newbie Mistress. Maria Luisa took manipulation to another level at the convent of Sant'Ambrogio. As mistress of the novices, she had direct access to the younger, more inexperienced nuns. Using her position of power, she created an elaborate system of blackmail and seduction, forcing intimate relationships with other nuns under the guise of miraculous cures and special blessings. She went so far as to forge letters supposedly written by the Virgin Mary in order to convince the convent's confessor to have intimate relations with her. Maria Luisa told the other nuns that her nightly meetings were special prayer sessions, but in reality they were orgies disguised as religious rituals. When someone threatened to expose her secrets, she did not hesitate to use poison to silence the witnesses. Number 8. The Prioress Thief of Hearts and Treasures. Catherine Wells had no regard for discretion when she took over as prioress at Littlemore. She turned the convent into her own private playground, having a scandalous affair with Father Richard Hughes that resulted in a pregnancy that shocked the entire religious community. But she didn't stop there. While the other nuns starved, Catherine embezzled money and valuables from the convent to give to her lover. She was so brazen that she even stole sacred silver chalices to give to the priest as gifts. The nuns, under her supervision, lived in near poverty, while she paraded around the countryside in expensive clothes and jewelry. When the sisters tried to complain, Catherine punished them with severe punishments, turning the convent into a veritable regime of terror. Number 7. The Case of the Princess and the Poison. The story of German Princess Katharina von Hohenzollern could have ended in tragedy if it weren't for her cunning. After entering the convent of Sant'Ambrogio seeking a life of devotion, she found herself in the middle of a web of intrigue, manipulation, and attempts at completion. Maria Luisa, fearing that Katharina would discover her secrets, tried to poison her several times. The princess was only able to escape because she kept up a secret correspondence with her cousin, detailing all the abuses and blasphemous rituals she witnessed in the convent. Her letters eventually reached the Vatican and sparked an investigation that exposed decades of corruption and perversion within the sacred walls. Number 6. The Nun Who Became a Pimp. In 1432, the convent of Santa Maria della Scala in Milan was the scene of one of the greatest scandals in religious history. The Mother Superior, Donna Francesca, turned part of the convent into a veritable medieval brothel. She charged local nobles for private encounters with some of the younger nuns, using the money to finance a life of luxury. The scheme was only discovered when one of the repentant nuns told her confessor everything. The investigation revealed that Donna Francesca even had a catalog with descriptions of the nuns available for special services. She justified it by saying that it was a way to raise funds for charity work, but the records showed that the money went directly to buying expensive clothes and jewelry. Number 5. The Fall of Arthington Priory. Arthington was like that quiet neighbor who everyone thinks is a saint, but who actually has some nasty little rascals. In the 16th century, this small and seemingly peaceful convent became the biggest shack in England. The local nuns had developed a knack for making very close friends with the local men. Things got so bad that it became ammunition for King Henry VIII when he was looking for an excuse to close all the convents in England. He looked at Arthington and said, "See, that's why we need to put an end to this mess." The poor nuns were all expelled, practically with only the clothes on their backs. Just imagine, suddenly you're there, praying your little prayers, and the next day, you have to go back to the real world without even a survival manual. Number 4. the poison chef nun. The convent of St. Ursula in Florence became famous for its mysterious accidents. Sister Beatrice, who was in charge of the kitchen, had a peculiar hobby, studying herbs and poisons. She used her knowledge to solve problems in the convent, eliminating nuns who threatened to expose the congregation's secrets. Her favorite method was to mix poisonous mushrooms into her edible mushroom sauce. No one suspected it because she was famous for her delicious Italian cuisine. The scheme was only discovered when she tried to poison the Mother Superior, who had an official taster for every meal. When they caught Beatrice, they found a veritable poison laboratory hidden in the basement of the kitchen. Number 3. The crime of passion in the convent of Monza. The story of the nun of Monza sounds like a script from a Mexican soap opera. Virginia Maria, a powerful nun from 17th century Italian high society, fell madly in love with Count Giovanni Paolo Ossio. The two began a forbidden romance worthy of a bestseller. They exchanged letters tied to strings through the convent window, with other nuns helping in the scheme. But things got serious when Virginia got pregnant. Not once, but twice. The first baby didn't survive, but the second, a girl named Alma Francesca, became the darling of the Count's daddy. Everything was going well until a gossipy nun threatened to spill the beans. The solution? The Count killed the snitch, and Virginia helped hide the body. When they caught her, her excuse was that evil forces had made her act that way. The punishment? 13 years locked up in a small room in the convent. Number 2. The spy nun. Sister Beatrice de Toledo was like a 007 in a cassock. She used her position in the convent to spy on the Spanish nobility and sell information to the French. During her confessions, she wrote down all the nobles' dirty secrets in a secret notebook hidden in the library. The plan was perfect. Who would suspect a friendly nun who only wanted to hear the sins of the people? She made a fortune through snitching, until one day she forgot her notebook under the confessional. It was a disaster when the priests started reading the secrets out loud, thinking it was a prayer book. Number 1. Lincoln's Dirty Secrets. The Lincoln Convent became a real Mexican soap opera when the bishops decided to make some surprise visits in the 15th century. You know those boring inspections that everyone hates? So, the guys arrived unexpectedly to see if the nuns were following all those promises of chastity, poverty, and obedience correctly. And my goodness, what they discovered was bizarre. The Lincoln nuns were causing such a stir that even the inspectors were shocked. There was a huge party going on in there. Some of the little sisters were having secret flings with guys from the city, like a medieval Tinder, but much riskier. And it wasn't just the nuns. The monks were also up to mischief behind the scenes. It was like a medieval BBB, only with everyone in costumes. Now, how about watching videos about the greatest mysteries of humanity? I'll leave you a playlist with several videos on this topic. Take advantage and click now to watch because I have separated it especially for you. Well, that's it, and until next time, Curious One.